Alon, the hell do you make of all this craziness with the Raiders?
Just another year in Vegas, I guess. Seems like every
Yeah.
year here there's some type of drama. So, hey, I will say this: at least this is the most normal football dated, like the most palatable type of drama I would say that has happened in Las Vegas Raiders history.
Yeah, I'd say that. I would say that. At least it's a player dealing
Yeah,
with injuries or whatever, fake injuries maybe, and wanting to leave. We'll get to Antonio Pierce's press conference on Wednesday too, which man, he is losing me day by the day.
he's all over the place right now. It's fascinating. In one moment, it's he's trying to rally the troops, and then the next, it's like I don't know. It's interesting. I have no
Yeah.
idea, and it might be because when you become the full time head coach, maybe you're trying to establish a real identity instead of just being the interim guy that everybody can rally behind. But then again, it's like, what's going on?
Yeah, and it's not sounding good. And then he went all full. He went full Belichick on us in his
Yeah,
press conference. We'll get to it. Just your pregame show, man. Alon is filling in for Steven today because we had to do the show a little early today. If you listen on the podcast, uh, we recorded this Friday morning at 11 because I'm headed off to LA
hey,
this weekend right after our show today in on KMBR Tolbert and Copes. Actually, going to be at Almanac Brewing today in Alameda, so that's why I'm able to do the show from home today. And then once we're done with this, I'm gonna run over to Alameda and then go straight to the airport. Worked out all conveniently for me today, Alon.
flying out of Oakland, I'm assuming,
Flying out of
correct?
Oakland. So, oh
Oh,
yeah,
easy.
I
So
wouldn't.
easy.
I wouldn't make that mistake of going from Alameda to fly out of SFO. That'd be a rookie mistake.
Yeah.
But yeah, doing that and don't have time for a podcast on Saturday. So, and Steven's got to work right now. So it's Alon filling in with me. And Alon's going to fill in for a little bit of time. Actually, I haven't told you this, Alon. I'll tell you now. Steven's going on his honeymoon next Tuesday. So it's you and me for the foreseeable future for about most of October. So strap in, get used to
Honeymoon.
me.
Yeah, that's fine. I get used to me as well. So
All right.
we're good to go.
All right, let's do it, man. But yeah, we're gonna do a little quick show today because I do have to run over to Alameda in a little bit, probably like an hour or so.
Yeah.
But I want to give the latest before we hopped on here. I did not see this until about like 10 minutes ago. Uh, Devonte Adams has posted to Instagram, and it's a picture of Edgar Allan Poe. And if you know the writer Edgar Allan Poe, he wrote a famous poem about the Raven. So there you go. Nothing has happened. Don't see a follow up from Adam Schefter or Ian Rappaport about him being traded, but one would surmise that he may be intimating that he's getting traded to the Ravens. Don't know. I never thought the Ravens were a good match for him. I don't think Lamar Jackson's the type of quarterback that he needs right now. I think he needs like a guy he's familiar with in Derek Carr or Aaron Rodgers. And I don't necessarily know if the Edgar Allan Poe thing means that it's the Ravens. Edgar Allan Poe wrote a lot of poems, and he could be alluding to something else. No clue. But now we're in this. One of my favorite things is guess the mystery social media post, whatever the hell it means.
Yeah, I don't get it. Most of the time when players do this too, like if this was specifically about the Ravens, it's so on the head, on the nose that it's like
Yeah.
there's no subtlety about it. Like everyone's gonna put two and two together if that's what it's about. But if he does go to the Ravens, um, I don't know. I guess he'll help Lamar in some of the scramble drill stuff when the play breaks down because Devontae is good at breaking free, like when the play is breaking down. But I don't. That's not exactly where I would go if I was him.
Yeah, it must be whatever the compensation is. I'm still keeping an eye on the Jets because I that's just too obvious for his connection with Aaron Rodgers and their Super Bowl aspirations. And the Jets did make an offer to the Raiders last year for Devonte Adams while Aaron Rodgers was hurt. They were, I guess, anticipating him coming back at some point last year or they just wanted to get him now so he can be on the team for next season, or this current season. But yeah, the whole thing's screwy. So just to catch up with everybody, so me and Steven went into it on Tuesday night. We all know the whole thing with Devontae. He went on the Kay Adams show, basically said, "I'm ready to, whatever happens next is the next thing." And then, he kind of laughed off the Antonio Pierce liking the message that he wants him traded. And they said they had no communication. Devontae said he had no communication, in which Kay Adams was like, well, that's weird. And then the next day, Antonio Pierce has his press conference. Yeah. And Steven was kind of expecting him to be open about it, because so far he's been an open book. He's been honest. I mean, since the day he got the job, he was, pretty open and saying that, he wants things to go back to the old traditional way of, the Raiders. And that was all good. That got people bought in. And ever since then, he's been kind of open about things. He talked about how they wrote the rule book on Mahomes on how to stop him, and can't wait for those matchups. And, he's been very honest. And that happened after the Carolina game, where he said that some guys took business decisions. And now he's taking the Belichick approach.
We're on to Denver.
Yes. Wednesday, he was asked over and over again about what went on with the social media post that he later on deleted, or whatever, the liking.
Unliked it.
Yeah, he unliked it. It was a Sports Illustrated Instagram post asking fans, should the Raiders trade Davante Adams? And he liked it, and then unliked it. And reporters asked him about it, and he just said, yeah, I'm focused on Denver. And then when asked about Davante Adams, said he's rehabbing. So we'll see him around the facility.
And we're focused on Denver. And he's got a hamstring. He's rehabbing, and
he's rehabbing. Asked about his communication with Davante. Me and Davante talk all the time. And then said, whatever goes on between me and Davante will remain in-house. So Antonio Pierce taking the approach, like Bill Belichick, of you're not going to know what goes on behind closed doors. And our good buddy Aram, who's in the chat right now, texted me this morning that Hondo Carpenter, on his podcast, I guess, said that maybe this stems from something in preseason. Maybe that the starters were going to play in a preseason game, and Davante wasn't happy about that. So he kind of, withheld from the game with a hamstring injury or whatever that may be. And supposedly, I guess Hondo is going to come out with a bigger article on everything that went down once the trade is official. Wherever
it'll be in bullet point format.
Yes, too, thank you. That's the same joke that me and Steven had. That's just Hondo has good stuff.
No, it's great.
It's just the format in which he writes it in. But yeah, man, I just want to get your thoughts on all this. My biggest thing is I'm not surprised this is happening. I'm just surprised it's happening now. And my biggest question is, what the hell happened behind closed doors? What's going on? What happened to the point now where Davante Adams and Antonio Pierce seem to be against each other?
I really think it all stems from the fact that Davante Adams came to Las Vegas to play with Derek Carr specifically.
Mm-hmm.
And with him not being here and no succession plan in place, you had a placeholder year last year with 3 different quarterbacks, and then you have a placeholder year this year with Gardner Minshew, as well as Aiden O'Connell, who hasn't played yet, but I think he's going to play this weekend. I think Minshew might get yanked, but I think he sees that and he's like, you know what? As much as I might like living here and the money that I'm getting paid and everything like this, and some of the success individually, statistically that he's had, he's just like, I specifically came here to play with my buddy who I had a good rapport with, and that blew up immediately. And he probably is looking around going, yeah, and I don't know if it's all driven by him either. Some of it might be on Pierce as well, like with that preseason thing that you mentioned, because Davante didn't really do anything during the preseason and missed I believe missed a few of the workouts, but all veterans miss workouts. That's not really the big deal. But yeah, and the business decisions comment, you got to wonder if some of that was on Davante Adams as well. So I think Pierce does drive some of it, but I also at the same time, I think it's as simple as Davante Adams just wants to go somewhere with a viable quarterback. And right now he doesn't have that. I know I texted you, Derek, and if I was him, I know maybe he's thinking about going to link up with Aaron Rodgers again, or even with Derek Carr. And he just tweeted the Edgar Allan Poe thing. Or Instagram. I'd rather go to Atlanta if I was him. I don't know if that's viable for Atlanta, but that's where I'd go. Because that's the only quarterback in the league putting up prolific numbers right now.
Yeah.
It seems like.
No, I mean we'll get to what Kirk Cousins did last night. I'm not sure how much draft capital they have anymore to give out because they had to make the move for Matt Judon and for other players. They signed most of those guys, but no, man. But I hear all that, Alon. Just my question is though, what happened with the timing though?
Oh, okay. So yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know. My theory is that it probably agent driven in some ways. I bet you there are people who said, "Hey, Davante, do you really want to be here? I know you've been trying to be like a good soldier about it." And Davante probably went, "Yeah, actually, no. I have my coach liking posts talking about me getting traded." And then he decides to go on the Kay Adams show and be like, yeah, and maybe that's when it finally bubbled over when that happened. But yeah, I honestly I can't put a finger on a specific time because the details are so limited. That's the problem. And maybe that business decisions comment, I mean, that's incredibly insulting to players. They don't like hearing it. Jack Jones got benched because of it. But if that had anything to do with Davante Adams, that definitely could have caused a rift between that relationship between him and Antonio Pierce.
And it's crazy that happened so quickly because Davante was not happy with Josh McDaniels, was very happy with Antonio Pierce, and now it's changed very quickly into the season. But my thing is, if Davante, I've always think Davante felt this way. It's just that why not do this in the offseason, though? Why are we doing this week 4 in the NFL? That part I don't understand. Like they had many chances this offseason. They had the whole thing at Tahoe where Aaron Rodgers is like, I look forward to playing with Davante Adams again. And then they released a statement not too far after that saying, I think Davante with his representative saying there's no truth to anything. I'm happy being a Raider. Why not say something then if you felt this way?
Yeah, and he had that press conference, 3 weeks ago, where he got up, maybe even 4 weeks ago, where he got up and he said, everybody in this room, he was talking to the media, knows me. If I wasn't happy, I wouldn't. He said it himself. If I wasn't happy, I wouldn't be here. Well, that changed in 4 weeks. He's not happy anymore for whatever reason.
And it may be something Antonio Pierce said. I want to go to Antonio Pierce real quick. I had reservations about him getting the head coaching job. I've always acknowledged that he should. Actually, let me phrase this the right way. He deserved to get the job for what he accomplished on the field. I totally acknowledge that. I think that he earned that right to get the job. But I had some reservations about it. I brought up Mike Singletary and how you go from a guy that galvanizes the team and it's a new change of pace, it's a new culture. But is that always going to resonate in a full season? Like when it's, a full 17 games. Like last year, things were bad with Josh McDaniels, and then Antonio Pierce was a breath of fresh air. But when shit goes bad, how is Antonio Pierce going to handle that? And something that's not been brought up a lot, but I know about, Antonio Pierce was the ringleader for all the bad things that went on with ASU and all their sanctions. And basically why Herman Edwards is out of a job. So not to say that he's doing anything shady behind closed doors with the Raiders, but it sounds like something's going on there where Davante's mad at him. And I'll say this too. I don't think you could blame anybody but the fans for this or the players. Because I said this when they hired him. It's on you guys. The fans were like, you got to hire this guy. We don't want another big name coach. We don't want another guy that's going to cost $10 million a year. We want the guy that wins the Raider way. And Max Crosby went on his podcast and threatened to be traded if they don't hire Antonio Pierce. Well, now look at it. So, believe me, I love bashing Mark Davis, but this is not his fault. This is on the fans and this is on the players for putting so much pressure on the organization to hire this guy.
No, they would have just absolutely went after. They'd still be going after Mark Davis if he didn't hire Antonio Pierce, unless they hired a coach instead of him and the Raiders were 4-0 at this point. But, he was really put in a tough spot. What's he going to do? Ignore his best player on his roster or his two best players who are telling him, you got to hire this guy. This is the guy that we need going forward. He was put in a tough spot. But
yeah,
I don't know. One thing I've read about a little bit is, there might be a theory out there that maybe the relationship with star players for whatever reason is not there or not being cultivated between Antonio Pierce and star players on the roster. But that wouldn't make sense because it seems like Max Crosby, for all intents and purposes, is still happy with him. So I don't think it's on that side of the ball. It could purely be on the offensive side of the ball. And that's
it
why
may be that he treats everybody the same.
Yeah, it could.
But he's also
exactly.
a defensive guy, so that may be why Max Crosby likes him.
Yeah, that could exactly be it. And you can't deny the improvement of the defense since he's been there. But it could be a case of treating everybody the same. And, especially with star wide receivers, especially with someone who could retire right now and go to the Hall of Fame, or you would think would, but someone as prolific as Davante Adams, I mean, you do have to treat him a little bit differently. As Al Davis said, you got to treat people the way they want to be treated. And that's the thing. I don't know if Antonio Pierce has been able to cultivate that relationship with Davante outside of what they had last season. And last season, anybody could have went in and replaced Josh McDaniels, and it would have been better.
Yeah, no, that's I don't know what the hell's going to go on with this. This might be a one and done thing with Antonio Pierce. There's going to be a lot of high profile guys available this offseason, and we'll see if it gets to that point. The Raiders are only 2-2. I mean, they're still in the thick of things in the AFC West.
They could win in Denver and everybody go, okay, well, I guess they won the game.
But that, that'll be great for Sunday. And unfortunately, the rest of the week will be like, okay, so what's going on with Davante Adams? And I almost said Antonio Brown. Well, that's what this feels like again. This feels like another wide receiver, high-profile wide receiver that came to the Raiders to change things, and they didn't like it and wanted to get out. And this is different. I think that Davante's lasted the longest out of Randy Moss and Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown didn't even last a season. Yeah. Randy Moss was there for 2 seasons, but barely. He was barely there in
1 and a third. Randy Moss. That second season, he was very much checked out after the first quarter of games. But I would say the common thread between both the Randy Moss situation and then this one, and man, that's going back with Randy Moss. But it's the quarterback position, and I know Moss had Collins, who then went on to Tennessee after and had a few more good, a couple of good seasons in Tennessee. But it's the quarterback, and that's the thing. You bring in these star wideouts without a quarterback there, and they did have one in Derek Carr. And then when you blow that up, it's like, well, what do you think's going to happen? You think the guy's going to want to stick around for a rebuild, especially when he's already a veteran who's advanced in age? They're not going to want to do that. They're going to want to go somewhere where they know they're going to get the ball consistently, and at least they can because these guys view, you get the ball in my hands, I help us win. So I want to go somewhere where I can do that. And the Minshew experience is not that for Davante Adams right now.
Yeah, and I just want to read what our guy Steven just tweeted out in reference to the Edgar Allan Poe cryptic post. This is Steven's attempt at humor. One of the biggest cryptic athlete posts we've ever seen yet. After digging through Wikipedia, I conclude he's going to the Jets.
Yeah, no, Steven summed it up. That's exactly how I feel. It's like, wow, this is a mystery. But I don't look. The Raiders are gonna, when they do indeed trade him, and the Raiders should hope that they're able to trade him at this point.
I think they will. I mean, I think. I mean, John Lynch went on KNBR this morning and said, "Never say never." But let me say never. The Raiders and Niners are not doing a deal. They're like, people don't understand how much those organizations do not like each other. And for right or wrong, Mark Davis blames the Niners for dragging them out of the Bay Area.
Yeah,
That
that's part of it.
and that's part of it, but also Khalil Mack. The Niners offered a better deal for Khalil Mack, and the Raiders said
Yeah.
no, thank you.
And John Gruden was not going to trade him to yeah, no.
To have that be a thing of, both sides, the people that covered the Raiders and the Niners.
Give me a break.
That's the last thing you need. So, but I also want to bring this up too because Marcus Boucher made me aware of this. Host on the morning show on KNBR. He told me that Vic Tafur wrote an article about how some of the people in the Raiders organization and mainly the players were kind of not happy with Davante after the Netflix show coming out.
Yeah, I saw some of that, and I would like to know how much of that's true.
Yeah,
because that's just hard. It would be so difficult for me to really put a lot of credence into that, because how any of those people who saw those clips, how could they not empathize with Davante Adams in some of those clips where he is getting, body bag throws over the middle, especially, and being like, I'm getting killed out here. I don't know. I just, if you're really a team and there was some cohesion that happened, especially towards the end of the season, I don't know how much stock I can put into specific players being unhappy with him, especially when he's your best player on offense by far. So that's very difficult. I'm not saying there's no truth to it at all, and I'm not, completely throwing it out, but man, that would be damning from a team culture standpoint if players were not happy with their best offensive player.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you could fault him for that. I think that's something that was filmed during the season, and those were his true emotions. And by the way, it's not. It was just you could catch that on NFL Films. It's not anything like Netflix had special.
Yeah,
and you saw it, and it was a thing last year. He was vocal to the media that he wanted to win his way. It's just tough. I said last podcast they fucked it up. I thought that they made a downgrade at quarterback, and it was never really appealing to Davante after that. The organization took a shift in kind of doing a rebuild thing with Davante, and then it didn't make sense to me. They went from being a playoff team in 2021 to then trying to make that jump with Derek Carr and Davante and Chandler Jones and all these guys, and it blew up. Sorry, I'm just checking. I'm checking each notification here to see if something happens here because if you're just joining us, Davante Adams just posted a thing on social media with a cryptic message of Edgar Allan Poe, which one would think that maybe it's the Ravens in play for him, but we'll see. Maybe something happens by the end of the day. Real quick, I want to acknowledge this thing from Otis Bird that he did in the chat here. How did the Niners run the Raiders out of the Bay? If anything, the A's ran the Raiders out of the Bay. Yeah, that's more accurate.
it's true.
I'm just saying how the Raiders perceive things, and it's along the lines of little brother syndrome of they get all the attention and we don't. That's the truth. That's
just the Niners win.
No, I mean, yes, but the Niners have always been bigger in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
The Raiders came back in '95 and have not won over the Bay Area since. And there's, I live in Oakland, still people love the Raiders here, but it's a Niner town, and that's kind of what the perception is. And that's how the A's felt about the Giants. That's how the Raiders felt about the Niners. That's just the way things are. So I'm not saying it's right or wrong. That's just how it is.
No, if the Raiders were good when they came back to Oakland, outside of a few key years in the late 90s and early 2000s, then things might be a little different. The Niners would still be the more popular team, but the Raiders didn't win when they came back to Oakland. And that's really all there is to it. But yeah, Otis is right. The disagreement with the A's over what to do with the Coliseum site, we don't need to get into all that, but that was probably the key driving force.
Yeah. So, yeah, man. I mean, I was not expecting to talk about this, this early in the season. I thought that maybe the trade deadline and maybe we got more of a feel of how the Raiders were going to be as a football team. I still have no idea what they are at 2-2. No idea. They've had
that's the thing. I was going to say, Derek, that's the thing. Like, it's still super early in the season. They're 2-2 in the log jam with a whole bunch of other 2-2 teams. They go win in Denver and be like, oh, we're starting to build a little momentum, maybe with 2 straight wins for the first time in God knows how long.
Yeah.
Well, they had 2 straight, I think, last year when Pierce became coach. But still, like, we're a month away from the trade deadline. And you would expect, like you said, Derek, to have something like this happen maybe around like November 1st through the 5th rather than, October 4th.
Yeah. No, I definitely was expecting to be more around then. And yeah, like, Devontae had a great game against the Ravens. Funny enough, we'll see what happens with that. And they won without him against the Browns last week. So we'll see what kind of football team they have. I'm kind of skeptical about the future. And I think they're kind of, I don't know. I really don't know if they say they want to win, but I don't, they're trying to feel like every team now, I think, goes through a competitive rebuild. And I feel like that's what they're doing now with the Raiders. And Devontae just got caught up in the mix with that. And I think Devontae was looking for an excuse at some point to get out of here. We've heard rumors about the Jets for way too long now. And it makes sense. I mean, to me, if you were going to do a deal with the Jets, Steven brings up Garrett Wilson. I don't think they're giving up Garrett Wilson. I think Hassan Reddick makes sense. But then again, I don't even know if I trust that guy right now.
Yeah.
I think whatever compensation the Raiders get for Davante Adams from whatever team, it needs to be something that puts them in a position next draft to potentially package some draft picks together to get up in the draft in order to get a quarterback. And Aram here puts Ward 2025. Cam Ward, we'll see him in Berkeley this weekend against Cal. To me, I know you and I went through the college QBs.
He's incredible.
Right now, he is my number one QB in next year's draft. Can the Raiders get him? They have to have a terrible season in order for that to happen. And this is the predicament they were in a year ago, where they won 8 games, everybody was happy, but then when it came draft time, they lost out on Michael Penix. So we'll see. I don't know what's going to happen. If you were going to put the puzzle pieces together, it sounds like the Ravens for Devontae if he's putting out an Edgar Allan Poe thing, but I don't know. I have no fucking idea where the hell this is going to go.
Yeah, and this could also be a case where he doesn't exactly know where he's going to go either, kind of deal, and they're putting stuff out there just to be like, oh, could go here, could go there, because athletes do stuff like that. So wait to see something more concrete on it. But you're right, when they do trade him, they got to get for sure a second. I think they will get a second round pick for him. He warrants it.
Yeah.
You're never going to recoup the value that you gave up to get him, obviously. And anybody who thinks that they will is nuts. But a second round pick is realistic. And, I think the Raiders labeled it as second round pick and some extra compensation. Well, that extra compensation might just be the fact that someone actually deals for him and there's some salary cap relief there for the Raiders. But you're right, Derek. They're going to need to. The whole point of trading him away, if they do indeed do it, would be to get a pick that then you're going to put together so you can climb up the draft board. Even if the Raiders only win 6 games this year, 7 games, let's say, there's still going to be teams who are significantly worse than them who are going to be in a better position to draft one of the premier quarterbacks. So it's tough. Cam Ward, if he keeps up what he's doing right now, let's say he goes to Berkeley on Saturday where College Game Day is going to be, and just lights them up. That's going to be huge for his draft stock. And every week that he keeps doing well, he keeps climbing the board. So I would say the good thing for the Raiders is, or any other team who's quarterback needy, there's going to be a good list of passers this year coming out in the draft. But and dynamic playmakers. That being said, the Raiders, if they finish in that middle of the pack kind of deal again, they're going to have to give up probably 2 1s and a 2 and maybe something else to be able to move up that high, especially if the run on quarterbacks happens the way it did last season, which I'm still in shock over. I'm still amazed that all those quarterbacks were taken so early. And one of them's not even playing because he's injured, JJ McCarthy. Bo Nix looks horrible, but watch him have a breakout game against the Raiders Sunday. But Jalen Daniels is the one who Jaden Daniels, rather, not Jalen Daniels over at Kansas. Jaden Daniels looks really good.
Yeah. No, I mean, and I don't doubt that there'll be a run of quarterbacks. I'm actually more impressed with this upcoming draft's slate of quarterbacks as opposed to this last year.
I am too, even though the draft grades were so much better last year on the guys, and everybody going into this season was like, well, there's not as many good quarterback prospects coming out this year as there were last year. And I'm like, there's some guys who can play in this draft class for sure.
Speaking of the college QBs, let's talk about that real quick. And if there's any news on the Raiders, I'll jump in here and let you guys know. College Game Day is coming to Berkeley, and I think that's awesome. Marshawn Lynch is going to be the guest picker, which is totally appropriate. You got Nick Saban coming to Berkeley, which is going to be a culture shock, as you said a week ago. But it's going to be fun. I'm very excited for Berkeley to get this because the Bay Area is not a college football town. We don't talk college football on the radio, although we do because Tom loves it. But for the most part, people are not into it. But this is big. Cal going to the ACC, they're 3-1. Would have been a bigger deal if they were 4-0 and won that game against Florida State. But yeah, man, and God, I would have loved to see this game. But I'm going to LA this weekend. Cam Ward coming to the Bay Area, get an up close look at how he's going to be. I'm excited for this. This is going to be really awesome.
No, it's going to be great. Great stadium to go to. I mean, it's always amazing to me how many people in the Bay Area who've never gone to Cal Memorial Stadium and gone and watch a game. If you were ever going to go watch one, this would be a good one to go to. Say you missed the heyday of the Rodgers years at Cal, but yeah, I wish college football was a little bit bigger in the Bay Area, especially when, every couple of years a team like Stanford was good for a while, especially under Harbaugh. But same with Cal. Cal has the ability to be good every 3 to 4 years. San Jose State has been competitive here and there. So, yeah, I mean, if this helps build up the profile of college football locally in the Bay Area, that'd be a really good thing. But super exciting moment. College Game Day's never been there before.
Yeah.
Cal was like one of a handful of now Power 4 schools that have never gotten College Game Day there, so they can tick that off the list. They can put an X right there next to that. They have gotten College Game Day there, but yeah, it's going to be fun. I would encourage everybody to go if you have the ability to.
Yeah, and BART trains are running early tomorrow at 5 a.m. So yeah, they'll probably get you there right before kickoff.
Yeah. So yeah, you get off in Berkeley, and then you got to figure your way out up that hill to get to the stadium.
I mean, I enjoy making that walk every time I go to a Cal game.
Yeah.
But be wary. Like, yes, take BART, but BART on the weekend, it's not the smoothest thing.
It's pretty delayed, and it's pretty jam-packed sometimes, especially when there's a big event. And yeah, it is what it is. It's BART. It's home.
Yeah. I want to ask you, though, last weekend was one of the best college football games I've seen, and you and I were texting each other. Georgia, Alabama. Your Alabama Crimson Tide won 41-34, but it gave you a heart attack going from 28-0 to then having them come all the way back, Georgia, to take the lead 34-33. But in the end, Jalen Milroe finds 17-year-old, what's his name?
Ryan Williams.
For the touchdown, and then the game-sealing interception in the end zone. What was your take on the game?
Incredible first half. Loved every minute of it. Second half, Kalen DeBoer offensively, they kind of took their foot off the gas. They tried to execute some trick plays. Georgia's talented enough with a good quarterback who can always come back, and Kirby Smart, he's never going to let that team quit. And, they have talented players. So if you don't bury them, even though 28-0 at one point is like, oh my gosh, this is a slaughter. It's college football, and there's so much time in the game, especially late where the clock starts stopping and things like that. So I was happy that Bama won, but I was furious. I was like, what are you doing? And I'm still mad about it, even though they won. That part of me realized yesterday, I'm still mad about winning like that. Then that means that we're still pretty damn good if I'm mad about the way we won. So all I'll say is this: Georgia, there's still a little brother. We're still their daddy. They can't beat Bama, which I love. I love that they won time in the last 10 games. But yeah, it was a great game. What was really good about it was you got to see the best of Jalen Milroe. You got to see the best of a young 17-year-old wide receiver. You got to see a very good defense for the first half. In the second half, you got to see the other side of it, a pretty damn good defense for Georgia still, even if the defensive line isn't elite like it had been in years past. But then you saw Carson Beck actually, like, I don't know what happened to him at halftime, but he just decided,
Yeah.
okay, I know how to play. And so I should do the things I need to do. And so you saw him make a lot of throws with anticipation. I've said that's his best talent in my eyes, is the fact that he can make the throws before they're actually open. He can see the field well, but man, they were shell shocked in the first half. It was quite incredible. So what I'd like to see going forward from Bama is I want to see two halves of that. That'd be great. And then from Georgia on the other side, I think they'll look at it and be like, we need to figure out what the hell's going on in first halves of games with us this year. Because Kentucky, that was really bad. And then Bama was much worse in the first half for them. So going forward, they're still a damn good team. They just need to figure out what they are going to do early in ball games, because they can't keep putting themselves in this situation, especially in a conference that tough.
Yeah. I mean, I was not impressed with Carson Beck when the first half happened. I was texting you. I was like, I don't know about this guy, man. And then the second half, I was like, okay, he's letting it rip. He actually has a lot of confidence throwing it downfield. So I see what everyone else sees in him. Jalen Milroe, I was impressed with. I just don't know if some of that stuff's going to translate to the NFL sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's happening right now with Jaden Daniels, but I want him to. I mean, he could throw. It's just that he needs to become more consistent as a thrower than as opposed to just using his legs all the time. So if I had to rank him right now, probably I would go Cam Ward 1, Carson Beck 2, Jalen Milroe 3, Shedeur Sanders probably 4, and then we'll see where the other guys go. But that's how I see things early in this college football season as far as draft picking order next year.
Yeah, I think that's fair too. And for good reason. Cam Ward is amazing so far in terms of the throws that he's had to make and the improvisation that he's done as well. We all saw what could be his Heisman moment so far this season when he kind of scooped the ball to his right as he's getting sacked to a tight end. Jalen Milroe, very, very explosive player, has probably the best deep ball in all of college football out of the quarterbacks, but still developing, and that's why it's so important for him to be with DeBoer. Behind him is Sanders, but then it's kind of a logjam back there too with the other guys, whether you're looking at a guy like Jackson Dart, who I like, but man, they didn't do what they should have done against Kentucky. And then Drew Aller, who is, if this was 15 to 20 years ago, he'd be the guy everybody would be looking at and going, whoa, 6'5", good arm, like can see over the line, can do well in the pocket. And now he's kind of the guy that's like, that might be a project player where you draft him a little bit later and see what you have. So things have really changed in favor of the mobile quarterback. But yeah, there's some good guys. I agree with your assessment and your rankings there. And hey, if Jalen Milroe was ever the quarterback of the Las Vegas Raiders, I would totally settle for that.
I know you would. And yeah, I mean, some guys get it done. Not everybody has to be so mobile. Some guys get it done just dropping back and throwing 50 times a game. Case in point, last night, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Atlanta Falcons, and Kirk Cousins had an amazing game, throwing for 4 touchdown passes and 509 yards. And that last score, 60 of it went, it was a catch and run. But when he's got time to just process things and just sit back in the pocket and throw, he's better than anybody. And yeah, that Achilles is affecting him. Like, he was never mobile. I never thought he was a mobile QB, but when he's able to get the ball in shotgun and just, throw it to Drake London, throw it to Darnell Mooney, he's good to go. I thought Baker Mayfield played really well in that game too. I was surprised about the offensive firepower in that game. For Thursday night, it's either, what you saw last night or a really ugly game, either a lot of points or no points. And interesting how that game ended with Bucky Irving fumbles. The Falcons get a chance to come back and tie the game up with a field goal. They had all 3 timeouts. And then they go for it on a 4th and 15 with all 3 timeouts. And there was like a minute 45 left. And I was debating with my little brother, like, should they have punted there? And he said they should have. Thought it was a dumb decision. In most games, that game would have been over.
Yeah,
The Buccaneers are up 3. You throw an interception to Levante David,
it's over.
and the Buccaneers shoot themselves in the foot. They have a holding penalty. They're pushed back, and they have to put the ball back. And Younghoe Koo makes the 50-plus yard field goal to tie it up, and then the game-winning touchdown to Hodges, Khalil Hodges, and the Falcons win the game. I think the Falcons have been really bailed out. Like in their 3 wins, man, they were bailed out by Philly for the misuse of the clock and Saquon Barkley. Younghoe Koo wins the game for him last week with a game-winning field goal, and then last night. So say what you will, the Falcons are leading that NFC South right now. A lot of people were, they were the sexy team to pick in that division before the season started, given the acquisitions. And then, some people are like, "Oh, Kirk Cousins looks terrible," and then some weeks like, "Wow, Kirk Cousins looks amazing." Bad game for the Buccaneers to lose. They probably should have won that game, but a great win for the Falcons. I don't know what to make of either team, though. I'd say the Buccaneers are better than I thought. They have impressive wins, going into Detroit and beating Philly, but then they lose that game last night. And then Atlanta stays resilient. So entertaining game. Don't know what to make of the South right now, though.
Yeah, Thursday night football game. It's so tough to make a judgment after one of them as well, because generally one side of the team, whichever team it is, doesn't show up. And yesterday it was defense. Defense didn't show up for either team. So I thought Tampa should have won. I mean, I picked them to cover and to win, and I nearly thought they were going to do it. As I was kind of had it on the screen next to me in the booth. I was doing a soccer game last night, but that ended very late. But yeah, I mean, it was interesting. Kirk Cousins got to give him a lot of credit. He's the one quarterback right now in the NFL who's putting up big gaudy numbers in terms of especially now with 500 yards passing. I don't think we might not see anybody else do that the entire season, and we might not see anybody get close. Baker Mayfield, I thought, played a great game.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that he's able to go for under 200 yards total, but be so efficient and fire 3 touchdown passes. I mean, if you had any of these receivers in your fantasy league, really anybody in this game besides Bijan Robinson, out of all the big stars, you were making out pretty good, like a bandit. But yeah,
it's funny to me. Sorry, just on Bijan Robinson, everybody was giving Arthur Smith shit last year for the amount of carries he's getting, and now it's kind of the same deal. Bijan's playing fine, not playing great, and he's also hamstringed. He's also dealing with a hamstring right now, so he's playing. He's just hurt, and he's not the type of running back to warrant a bunch of carries right now. So I thought Arthur Smith got a bad rap for that last year.
Oh, I agree, and I like Bijan Robinson. I'm a big Robinson fan. It was the way that game was going last night. It was Kirk Cousins' game, and they were going to ride or die with him, and he threw the ball damn near 60 times. It was a fun one. It was one that I think the NFL needed, especially on a Thursday night where not all the games are historically great, and this was a fun one to watch. I also think the NFL needed it from a perspective of, man, scoring had just been so down the entire year so far. And, outside of some one-sided blowouts, one side or the other, like, for instance, what the Saints did to a few teams early in the season. But they needed a game that was like this to kind of, I don't know, placate fans a little bit, but also it was entertaining. It was a little different from what we've been seeing. Not that I don't mind the rough and tumble, a lot of running and a lot of defense that we've been seeing so far this year, but it's always nice to get a game where it's just a couple of quarterbacks, and in this case, Kirk Cousins going back there and just using his arm like a howitzer.
There you go. Well, let's pick the rest of the slate for Week 5 in the NFL. And by the way, Alon, remind me next time we do this podcast.
Hot sauce.
Yeah, I know. I got you. But I'm up 2-1 against you for the picks we did yesterday for Thursday. I took the Falcons to win, and I laid the points. I had the under, but Alon had the over in that hit. So let's do a little something we call, once I get the music here, hang on, everybody. Don't freak out. If I can find it, hang on.
So last night there was a stoppage during the soccer game. It was UNLV against last night, it was UNLV against San Diego State. Fun game. There was a bunny that got on the field.
No,
and
I'm sure Tom Tolbert loved that.
It was
he's a big bunny guy.
He's a big, yeah, I am too. I love bunnies. It was great, and it was perfect because our cameraman got it, and the bunny kind of turned over his left shoulder with his little bunny butt facing the camera,
Mhm.
and he was being a little sassy bunny, and then started hopping around the field and stuff. And it stopped the game for about 5 or 6 minutes before the security got them. And then there was a group of fans who decided to start talking crap to the referee. And 10 of them delayed the game until they got escorted out of the stadium as well. Yeah, it was a weird game. There was about 25 minutes worth of stoppages across the entire thing. Game started at 8, didn't end until about 10:35 at night.
Good Lord.
Yeah, it was so much, but it was a fun one.
Did you have like a Kevin Harlan moment where you did play-by-play of the bunny hopping on the
bunny? I did because there was we were talking about how some of the players, they hadn't had their legs really going for them. They were missing, weren't able to sprint as fast as they really could in the second half. And the bunny starts like hopping, and I go, "Ooh, he's turning on the jets. He's still got it. He's been training in the off season. You can tell he's got the stamina." And so it was fun. Yeah, it was
Nice.
a good bunny moment. Bunnies are very fast.
There you go. All right. On that note, let's do a little something we call wins or wangs. All righty. Lower the music a little bit here. All right, Alon, let's get things started. I am up 2-1, like I said, from Thursday night's game. So let's start things in London, where Aaron Rodgers will take on Sam Darnold and the undefeated Minnesota Vikings. Sam Darnold revenge game against the team that drafted him. Vikings are 2.5-point favorites, and the over/under is 40.5.
Give me the Vikings and give me the under.
All right, are you laying the points with the Vikings? Because so what we do is we also pick the winners here too. So give me the winner and what you want to do with the point spread.
Well, yeah. So the Vikings to cover, so they'll have to win to do that. And
yeah, 2.5. Yeah.
Yeah. So the Vikings to cover, and they'll win. And give me the under on that. The Jets I don't know what they are.
Yeah. You know what? I'm feeling frisky this week. You might see a little trend here. I don't know why I'm doing this. Aaron Rodgers has always had his way against the Vikings. This is a different Viking team. I just feel like they need to do something with their pitiful performance last week against the Broncos.
Yep.
Taking the Jets to win, and I got that over.
Yeah. Well, if there was a week for Aaron Rodgers to break out, this would be a good one for him. He's kind of due, and we'll see. This would be pretty telling as well for the rest of their season.
Yeah, it will be. And I think that, just going to London kind of throws people off a little bit. So, yeah, for whatever reason, I'm taking the Jets. Then we got the Carolina Panthers going to the Chicago Bears. The Bears are 4-point favorites, and the over/under is 41.5.
I hate this game. Give me the Panthers to cover.
Okay.
And the Bears to win, and give me the under on that.
I don't hate that. I'll take Chicago to win. I'll lay the points with Chicago, but I'll go under on that as well. And then we got Baltimore going to Cincinnati. Baltimore is favored 2.5, and the over/under is 49.5.
So I can't figure out why Baltimore is favored by 2.5 on the road. I mean, I know the Bengals have not been the Bengals this season.
Probably because of just the records.
Yeah, it's probably just. I'm gonna take the Bengals to win outright, and give me the over on that game.
I'm going exactly the same, Alon. Great minds. Great bald heads, too. All right. Then we got the Miami Dolphins going to New England. Snoop Huntley gets to start again. Ugh. I mean, I don't fault him. It's just the quarterback play for the Dolphins right now. It's just hard to watch without Tua. And the Patriots are 1-point favorites. The over/under is 36.5.
The Patriots should win this game, but they're not going to. The Dolphins, I think, are going to beat the Patriots, and this game will go over. Not by much, though.
I'm with you, Alon. I think for whatever reason, on a short week, I don't know why, Patriots just don't do it for me. There's a lot more talent on the Dolphins side of the ball, but Snoop Huntley needs to do something. I'll take the Dolphins to win. I thought they were going to beat the Titans. That did not happen. I got them beating the Patriots. I'll go over on that 36.5, though.
Yeah, it's just I'm going over as well. It's just so low. There's no way.
All right, Cleveland is going to Washington, the red-hot Washington Commanders, and they are 3.5-point favorites, over/under 43.5.
I think Washington's due for a little bit of a letdown here, and I think the Browns need to play their best game of the season after that loss that they probably are kicking themselves about in Las Vegas. So give me the Browns, and I'll take the under in that game.
Oh, Alon, man. This is why I like doing these picks against Steven, because you are way smarter than him. I'm going with the same exact thing. I'm going with the Browns. I think the Browns defense gets to Jaden Daniels this week. I think that Myles Garrett and Zadarius Smith kind of trip him up a little bit. And I think it's a low-scoring game. So, yeah, I got the Browns winning, and I'm going under.
Got it.
And then I got the Indianapolis Colts going to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars playing their old teal uniforms this weekend from the 90s.
Oh.
Jags are 3-point favorites, over under 45.5. Sounds like Joe Flacco gets the start for the Colts, and it sounds like it's going to be Trey Sermon. Actually, it's officially Trey Sermon. Jonathan Taylor is out for this game.
Man, that does make the Joe Flacco being quarterback makes the Colts kind of intriguing. I'm going to take the Colts to upset Jacksonville, and I will take the over. I think there's going to be points in that game.
I'm going to go the other way on this one. I think the Jags are due. I think Doug Peterson's been throwing Trevor Lawrence kind of under the bus this week. But you know what? It's kind of called for because he's not playing well. But in the end, Doug Peterson will probably lose his job, and Trevor Lawrence will be there because he signed the contract. So I'm going to go with Jacksonville. I think they need to get a win. I'll lay the points with them, and I'll go under on that 45.5.
Gotcha.
Then we got Stephon Diggs being reunited with Josh Allen. The Bills are going to Houston. The Bills will not have Khalil Shakur, or they will not have Ed Oliver for that game. The Texans are 1-point favorites, over under 47.5.
It's so tough to pick against the Bills here, but I'm going to actually do it. I think the Texans will beat them. It's not an indictment on the Bills. It's just a rough little span here for them. And I will take the under.
I'm going to take the under as well. But I'm going to go with Buffalo. I think after last week's bad performance against the Baltimore Ravens, they want to right the ship a little bit. Texans are feeling good after that win against the Jaguars. And Josh wants to show that he can do it on his own without Stephon Diggs. So I got the Bills win the game, and I'm going under. Then we got the Raiders, possibly their first game without Devontae Adams. We'll see what happens here. But Raiders go to Denver, where the Denver Broncos will be wearing their old Mile High uniforms. Grew up my whole life hating the Broncos. I will say, those uniforms, pretty clean. The Broncos are 2.5-point favorites, and the over-under is 35.5.
Yeah. If the Broncos had any semblance of offense, I'd pick them. And this would be a spot for Bo Nix to break out, wouldn't it, against the Raiders defense?
It would.
But even with all the distractions and everything, I think, I think the Broncos are going to win this game.
All right. And you have the under?
What is that total at?
35.5.
35.5. I'm going over there. But I don't think the Broncos cover the spread. I think if they win,
it's a 1-point game?
I think it's a 1-point game.
All right. I'm with you, too. I think there's too many distractions this week, and I think that, God, I can't remember the last time the Broncos won 3 games in a row, and I think Sean Payton will have him ready to go against the Raiders defense. You put this loss on Antonio Pierce and Devontae for causing distractions. I'm taking the Broncos to win this game. I'll lay the points, and I think, this is going to be a low-scoring game.
I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong.
No, I mean, I know you hope you're wrong, but hey, sometimes we go with our gut here.
Yeah.
So I'm going under on that 35.5, and that may be wrong of me to do that, but I can't see a lot of points. If the Broncos win this game, I can't see a lot of points being scored.
Yeah, I guess I'm taking the over because of the hope if the Raiders win, they're probably going to score 20-ish points.
Yeah, and that may be enough.
Yeah.
Then we got the Arizona Cardinals going to the San Francisco 49ers. We'll find out probably in an hour or so if Fred Warner and George Kittle are going to play in this game. The Niners are 7.5-point favorites, and the over-under is 49.5.
That over under is tough because both teams can score. It's
Yeah.
just, will they do it against each other? I like the Niners all day in this game. I like them to cover, even with a freaking absurd amount of points, like a touchdown there. But the total, you know what? Niners are going to light them up. Niners are going to score 35 points, and Arizona's going to have like 17.
I think that after last week, the Cardinals play a little better defensively. And I don't know if George Kittle's going to play. Don't know if Fred Warner's going to play. I'll say the Niners win, but I like the Arizona Cardinals to cover that 7.5.
And do you like it under? Because
I like it under. I like it under. All right, moving on to the other games. We got the New York Giants going to Seattle. The Seattle Seahawks are 7-point favorites, and the over/under is 42.5. Malik Neighbors is out for this game with a concussion.
Yeah, give me the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks will do just fine at home against the Giants, and give me the under on this game, and mostly because of the Malik Neighbors thing.
Yeah. And then, do you like the Seahawks to cover?
Yeah, Seahawks cover.
I think this could be an upset special. I'm not going to take the Giants to win, but I am going to take them to cover. I like Seattle to win this game, and it's mainly because Seattle played on Monday night, and the Giants have had 10 days to prepare for this game since they played last Thursday. So that's my rationale there, and I'm going under on that. So, yeah, Seattle, Giants cover, under. Then we got Green Bay going to the Rams. The Green Bay Packers are 3-point favorites, over/under 48.5. The Rams will still be without Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, and it sounds like Jordan Love will be back again this week.
Yeah, Jordan Love, and he should be back. You know, you would think after getting the clunker out of the way in the first game back, he'd be much better. But give me the Rams. Give me the Rams to win the game, and I'm going to take the under on this ball game.
Yeah, I'm going the same thing, man. I'm going with the Rams. I think that the Rams, I can't see them starting 1-4, and I think the Packers have been. I think this game's going to be a shootout. That's why I'm taking the over. I just think it's going to be a quarterback crazy bonanza game where Stafford throws for over 300 yards. I think Jordan Love over 300 yards. I think just right now the Packers just need to find a groove where Jordan Love feels a little more healthy, and I don't know when that's going to be. I think he'll be able to protect himself and play fine in this game, but for whatever reason, I just because maybe they're home, I got the Rams winning this game.
Gotcha.
Then we got the Sunday night game. The Dallas Cowboys go to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's 2.5-point favorites, over/under 43.5. The Cowboys will be without their two pass rushers, Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence.
Yeah, it's tough for the Cowboys. That being said, I think they're still a better team, even though defensively Steelers are so elite. Give me the Cowboys to go in, pull off the upset, and give me the over.
Oh, Alon, you and I think alike. Yeah, despite the losses of the two pass rushers, I still like the Cowboys to win this game. I think that despite them, Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence not playing, I still think Mike Zimmer will come up with a scheme to slow down Justin Fields in that running game. Yeah, I got the Cowboys winning this game, and I got the under. I think it's going to be a very low-scoring game. It's going to be a very physical game. I think it's going to be like the old-school Steelers-Cowboys matchups from the 70s.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's going to be some more points, but I also wouldn't be surprised if it's super low. I mean, there's no reason for it not to be.
All right, and then the Monday night game, you got the New Orleans Saints going to Kansas City. The Kansas City Chiefs, they put Rashee Rice on IR, which means he could come back in 4 weeks. Don't know what's going on with that injury. They have not given details about it. Everyone thought he tore his ACL. You don't come back 4 weeks after a torn ACL, so we'll see what happens with that. But the Seahawks. The Chiefs are 5.5-point favorites, over/under 42.5.
I actually think the Saints go in and cover. I think the Chiefs do win the game, and I think it's a lower scoring game.
So you're going under?
What is it, 42.5?
Yeah.
I'm going over, actually. It's going to be a lower scoring game, but 42.5. Both these teams are good for 3 touchdowns.
I like the under, but I'm with you, Alon. I like KC to win the game, but I like the Saints to cover. And We all know Derek Carr has had moments in Kansas City where he's lit it up, but for the most part, struggles. So I think the Saints keep it a competitive game, but I like the Kansas City Chiefs to find a way once again to come out with the victory.
Yeah, they just figure it out, whether it's, some wacky penalty call they're able to draw, and legitimately so. So I mean, they always figure something out at the end of the game. Derek, you do need to switch my Raiders Broncos pick. I will be very angry with myself for the rest of the day if I don't pick the Raiders to win that game. So and we were so similar on so many other picks. I gotta go the other way. I gotta be able to get some juice on you here somehow.
No, fair enough. I mean, you and I, God, we think alike when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense. Gotta find some even ground here. So okay,
Yeah.
so you're switching from the Broncos to the Raiders.
Yes. Yeah.
I figured you would. You would.
I was thinking about it. I went, what am I doing myself?
Yeah, don't blame you.
I can't do it.
All right, everybody, that's going to be it for today. A nice 1 hour episode for change. Keep it brief. If anything happens with Davante Adams, you'll hear from us on Tuesday because I got to go to LA this weekend to go to my sister's engagement party. Yeah, and so we'll have a good time with that. Sorry, I'm just checking. Hang on, I'm just seeing if there's any updates. Nothing yet with Davante Adams. So yeah, we'll be back on Tuesday to recap the week that was the NFL. Do a little college football as well. Thanks everybody in the chat today. No, it was an early one, but thanks for all of you guys for showing up. And hope to see some of you guys at Almanac today. It's going to be a live show with Tolbert and Copes right over here in Alameda. So come on through if you want to get some beer and watch a live show with us. Maybe Harmony will show up. Probably not. All right, everybody. We'll see you guys on Tuesday. Alon, say what we say on this fine program.
That's just your opinion, man.